You ever have one of those days where you think you know your neighbors, you think you know your own street, and then bam, out of nowhere the world flips upside down, and you're the main character in a headline you never asked for? Yeah, that was me not too long ago. And if you're sitting there thinking, that could never happen to me, well, let me tell you what happened in Willow Creek, and you decide for yourself. It started like any other lazy Thursday afternoon in our corner of suburbia where the lawns are cut just so and folks wave, even if they don't know your name. I was home with my mom, Patrice, who'd flown in to help me get ready for the baby 7 months along, and my whole world was pastel onesies and little socks. She was folding a mountain of tiny clothes, teasing me in that way only a mom can, and I was soaking up every peaceful second thinking, maybe, just maybe, the world could stay this soft forever. But the thing about peace is sometimes you can feel it shift before it breaks. There was this pressure in the air like something holding its breath. And then it hit not a sound at first, but a presence, a sort of charge right before all hell broke loose. We heard this shriek from outside, not kids playing, not even a regular argument, but the kind of sound that makes your heart jump into your throat. My mom's hand landed on my arm. What in God's name? I went to the window peeking past the curtain, and there she was. Sophia. If you know the type, you know the type. Queen of complaints walks around like she owns every blade of grass. That day she's red-faced, dragging her poor son Yadin along like he's Exhibit A in some trial. She storms right up to my porch, voice rising with every step. You left my son stranded at school to be kidnapped, or worse, like what I barely knew the kid except as the sad little guy always getting barked at by his mom. I tried to explain it wasn't me, it was my cousin Maria, who happens to drive a black SUV just like the one her son saw. But Sophia didn't want an explanation, she wanted a spectacle. And then she said it, oh, that's convenient. Another one of you people covering for each other. And that's when my stomach dropped. This wasn't about a mistake, it never was. You ever feel your whole neighborhood tilt, like you finally see the cracks that were always there? My mom came and stood behind me, quiet, unflinching. Sophia, though, was already calling 911, spinning a story on the front lawn about how a pregnant black woman was acting aggressive and unstable, how the neighborhood was in danger. And I could hear every word, each one landing like a brick in my chest. Mom just lifted her phone, red light blinking. Record everything. Don't raise your voice. Be calm. The sirens came faster than I could breathe. Blue and red slicing through the golden sun, neighbors peeking out from behind blinds, everyone suddenly a spectator in Sophia's one-woman play. 2 cops got out, one older, grim-faced Officer Dunn. The other younger Officer Peterson looked like he was still learning that the world isn't as fair as he might wish. Sophia poured on the drama for Officer Dunn. She abandoned my son, then screamed at me. I'm terrified, I started to answer, but you could see Dunn's mind was made up. Then just as it was getting bad, Norma, my next-door neighbor, shows up. Retired teacher, silver hair, seen everything. She plants herself right there, looks the cops in the eye and says, this is nonsense. Sophia's been the only hostile one here. For a second, you could feel the spell breaking. But they wanted to hear it from Yedden, the poor kid in the crosshairs. Dunn knelt down. Did you see this lady at your school? Yedden was shaking eyes, flicking from his mom to me, to the police, to Norma, to my mom, who still had her phone raised like a shield. And suddenly it was like the dam burst. Mom told me to say she left me. His voice so small, but man, you could have heard a pin drop. Sophia's face drained of color. The boy kept going, said his mom wanted to sue us, said if I got in trouble they could get our house. And in that moment, all of Sophia's lies crashed down, right there on the lawn, in front of everyone. Now, I wish I could say that was the end, but in stories like this, there's always another layer. Turned out a local reporter, Sebastian Gomez, had been watching from a few houses down. He'd heard the sirens, seen the crowd, and his gut told him this was bigger than just a neighborly spat. Within days, he dug up a whole history of Sophia weaponizing 911 against anyone she saw as different. Mr. Ramirez from 2 streets over the Chen family across the road all had their own stories. Sebastian put it all in print. His article caught fire. Next thing I know, my phone's blowing up with messages of support, people I barely knew dropping off casseroles, local TV showing up at my door. And that's when Xavier Knight stepped in. Civil rights lawyer voice, like a preacher mind, like a steel trap. He looked at my mom's video, Sebastian's research, listened to our story, and said, "This isn't just defamation, this is a hate crime." He filed suit, brought it to the DA, and within 48 hours, wouldn't you know it, the police cruisers were back. But this time, they stopped in front of Sophia's house. Officer Peterson, the good one, walked her out in handcuffs, read her rights for filing a false police report, child endangerment. The whole neighborhood watched as Sophia's reign ended right there in the driveway. CPS arrived too, started digging. And get this twist of all twists, Sophia wasn't even Yedden's mom. She was his aunt fighting for control of his late mother's insurance money and his dad's military pay, while the real parent was deployed overseas. Her whole plot, the 911 call, the custody drama, the neighborhood terror, was one big ugly play for power and money. She'd been using Yedden as a pawn, trying to build a case that Willow Creek was dangerous so she could win custody for herself. When all this came out public, undeniable, my lawyer took it straight to court. The DA pressed charges. Civil court found Sophia liable for everything: defamation, emotional distress, malicious prosecution. The jury took one look at my mom's video, heard from the Ramirez and Chen families, and awarded us enough in damages to start again. But really, the victory wasn't about money. It was about finally being seen, finally being believed. But trauma doesn't vanish overnight. For weeks, I'd flinch at every patrol car, every raised voice on the street. Home didn't feel like home, at least not right away. But holding my newborn Amara, feeling her heart beat against mine, I knew I couldn't let fear have the last word. With the support settlement, and with Xavier, Sebastian, and a core of neighbors, Ramirez, the Chens, even Norma, we started Protect Her Peace, a nonprofit to help others facing the same weaponized 911 calls, the same hate, the same doubt. We set up a hotline, offered legal aid, built a team that would show up and record, bear witness, be the neighbor you wish you had in your corner. We started pushing for change too. Education, town halls, workshops, anything to break the cycle. We even drafted a bill, Chloe's Law they called it, to make racially motivated 911 calls a hate crime and make it easier to sue for damages. The fight was exhausting, and not everyone wanted to hear it. Some folks accused us of dividing the community, making a mountain out of a molehill. But you know what? Sometimes it takes shaking the tree for the rotten fruit to fall out. Sophia lost everything, her so-called friends, her house, any shot at custody. Yedden finally got placed with a real family, and when his father came home, that boy had a chance at a life not defined by someone else's hate. Willow Creek found its voice, held block parties, even elected Mr. Ramirez to the HOA board. And if you think one lawsuit or one law can wipe away all the pain, well, you'd be wrong. But the neighborhood is awake now. There's a little less fear, a little more connection. And if you're wondering if that's where it ends, well, here's the thing. The ripples keep going. The opposition never really sleeps. A fancy-sounding group with big money behind it tried to twist the story. Call us troublemakers, say we were the problem. But when it mattered most, when the council was about to vote on Chloe's Law, Sergeant Mark Coynton, Yedden's father, walked in uniform and all and said his piece. Then Yedden, brave as you like, stood up and told the truth again. The law passed. The alliance slinked back to wherever they came from. So yeah, sometimes the villains are loud and obvious. Sometimes they wear pearls and carry a clipboard. But sometimes the real heroes are the ones who never meant to be just folks trying to live in peace, who find their strength when it matters. Now, every time I watch Amara wobble across the grass toward the boy whose whisper saved us all, I know this peace isn't given. You claim it, you defend it. And if you're lucky, you build something stronger for everyone else. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? When is enough enough? What would you have done in my place? Is justice ever really done? Or does the fight just move to another front? Drop your thoughts below. Share this story. If you believe in standing up for your neighbors, and let's keep building something better. one voice at a time.